Welcome after this short break. Hope you had your sip of coffee and you are ready for the next presentations. Our next speaker has been fascinated with science since she was a little girl. She went on to study electronics and communications engineering at prestigious university in India. After completing her college, she joined a startup to pursue her interest in computer networking. She soon became an expert for several clients, which then led her way to Alcatel in the USA. Today, after 15 years in the company, she is the Director of Controllers Applications Delivery Unit in Fixed Networks. She will tell us about something she really loves, that is artificial intelligence and machine learning. Presenting to you from Raleigh, US, let's welcome Sireesha Kora.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the presentation of artificial intelligence. As Alina already mentioned, I'm Sireesha Kora, and I'm delighted to be here to bring in the world of artificial intelligence to every one of you. Before we get into this, I want to tell you a small story of how science and technology has fascinated me. I grew up in a small town in an island, which is the hub for space missions in India. Growing up as a daughter to a rocket scientist made me very much involved in what science and technology was. I've seen a lot of rocket launches through my childhood. I have been through several control rooms, and it was like a sight that I cannot forget. It was very fascinating, and that actually led me to this world of science and technology. Although rocket science was something that has always fascinated me, there's yet another technical field that amazes me in the near world, and that's the world of artificial intelligence. It's because of the opportunities it brings. It's because of the real world use cases that it solves. And I'm going to present you a few of them today. Now let's take a look at what the world of artificial intelligence is. Before we get into that, let's take a look at a few modern day examples, because there are several things that we do in today's life that seems to be like artificial intelligence to us. For example, all of us are used to virtual assistants like Siri, Google Assistant, and we use it for a lot of things like doing internal searches. We almost take it for granted. We sometimes even use it as a plaything, asking silly questions. And it's amazing how technology has improved with these voice assistants. And the next thing is we've also seen social media in general, like Google, Facebook, and other social media. The moment you type in something, it starts providing us auto suggestions and recommendations. It's amazing, right? It has changed our life really greatly. And flight autopilot, for example, has been around for several decades for best optimal flying. This is not something new for us. It's been there for several ages. And another area that we are all very familiar with is spam filters, right? Almost each and every one of us use spam filters. And what is this? You know, it's made our life so much easier. And another thing which I love, one of my favorite apps is the Google Maps, right? Almost everybody uses it today, and people have made it a part of their travel experience. And the next thing is searching in internet images has become so much easier. You can just type in something like Mona Lisa and it'll bring up millions of images that look very much similar to her. And check deposits that we do from your mobile. It's so convenient today. I mean, all you can do is with the convenience of your mobile phone, you can actually deposit, do online banking in mere seconds without having to even step out of your home. And there are other apps that make ride sharing so much easier. With the new Uber and Lyft coming up with ride sharing apps, they suggest you the nearest driver and connect you to the most optimized route. And this is really amazing how they do it. Now the question is, we are used to so many of these different things in our everyday life. Is this all artificial intelligence? It does surely sound like it, right? But don't worry, I'm going to take you through this a little bit to see whether it really is artificial intelligence. And to be honest, yes, there is artificial intelligence in almost each and every everyday life things that we do. Now, before we get into what these applications are, let's look at what exactly is artificial intelligence. What does it mean? What is the definition of artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence in simple terms, refers to a simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to express traits that are very similar to humans, like reasoning, learning, problem solving, perception, linguistic expertise, vision, and things like that. That is essentially what artificial intelligence is. It is like exhibiting intelligence like humans and beyond in machines. And what are the different types of artificial intelligence in the world today? There are actually two broad categories that we can look at that. One is based on their ability. The first one is called narrow AI, or sometimes also called the weak artificial intelligence. These are very common in our everyday life. Like, for example, your programmable coffee maker, a game that you play, like a chess game. These are very, very common in our everyday life. And these are called narrow AI or weak AI because they're focused on one task and they're very good at doing that one task. And they are basically programmed to do that one task. And the second one, which is much more capable of doing multiple tasks, and not just capable of doing multiple tasks, it also learns and improvises on itself. That's called the generic AI, and sometimes also referred to as strong AI. This is the world we are in right now. You're seeing a lot of new applications coming up in this generic AI. And one such example that every one of us can relate to is self-driving cars. The fact that you can drive your cars without a manned person in front of the steering wheel is just amazing. But the amount of science that goes behind that is fascinating. And I'm going to explain a little bit what that is all about. These are the two broad categories of AI based on ability. But sometimes you'll also see terms like super AI, which is going beyond what humans can do, going beyond what humans can learn. And that's an exploratory area as of now. Now, based on functionality, there are four different types of AI. One of them is called reactive. This is a very common type of AI that we are used to. It has no memory. It just reacts to a different action, inputs, and does its actions. For example, the previous example that I said about a programmable coffee pot. You come every day, you program it, and you say you have to do certain things, and you have to brew the coffee and turn it off, and it does exactly the same thing. That is also a type of intelligence, right? It's built in a machine, and the machine is able to do it. It's programmed to do it. We have actually written a computer program to do this, so it's reactive to that. And that's what is called the reactive AI. Computer games are also typically of that kind. The next one is called limited memory. Like I said in the previous one, reactive AI has no memory, so it just reacts to stimuli. But in limited memory, the machine uses some memory to learn, and at the same time, it improves on its responses. Like I mentioned about self-driving cars before, chatbot, your virtual assistants, these are able to actually take in inputs from you and also learn from them, which is where the industry is moving to, learning, making the machines learn from the data that they can see every day, the inputs that they can see every day. And this is a very, very important area and a very, very important part to artificial intelligence. The next one, which is still a work in progress, is called the theory of mind. Here, it's not just about learning and responding based on your learning, but it's also about understanding the needs of other intelligent entities, like, for example, humans. This is today mostly work in progress. I don't believe we have many applications. We have some proof of concepts being done by a few industry leaders, but this is something that we would see where the industry of artificial intelligence is advancing to. And along the same lines, the next one is called self-awareness AI. This is actually making machines act like humans, right? They're able to react to situations just like humans can do. This is providing self-awareness or building self-awareness into those machines, which is also work in progress. I don't believe there is anything that you use today that has this inbuilt. These are some two areas in AI, what we call the advanced areas, or also sometimes termed to as super intelligence, that we are actually exploring on. Now, one of the terms that I mentioned a lot about artificial intelligence is the ability for the machines to be able to learn on their own. It is a very, very important part of artificial intelligence. This is one of the most important things that's actually making the machines not just reactive to what you have previously told it to do so, but indeed improve on what it can do based on day-to-day events. And that's where machine learning comes into play. As the term calls, it is basically machines learning based on some data or input. We usually call it data provided to it. And let's look at what this machine learning is, right? It's also a form of artificial intelligence. In fact, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it comprises of several things, and machine learning is one part of it. And then sometimes you also listen or hear about deep learning, which is in fact a deeper version of machine learning where you use more layers to learn better, to act better, right? So what is machine learning really? It's actually making the machines learn and think similarly as to how humans do. That is, look at something, like for example, when humans are presented something like a picture and you say, this is a dog, you show several pictures of it. The humans know you don't have to show a similar picture of a dog to say that this is a dog. Humans are able to perceive that, okay, this is how a four-legged animal like dog is supposed to look like, and they know that that's what it is. And we are trying to bring machines to that level as well, so they can basically look at each of these different data sets that are available and learn based on how the traits of each of those different data sets are, and based on that, they know exactly what it is, right? So here, what is the most important thing for learning? It is data and data and data. So machine learning works by exploring data, and it identifies patterns, and in that process, it understands exactly what it is. So if you actually present to a machine several pictures of Mona Lisa and say, this is exactly how Mona Lisa looks like, the machine learns. And next time you present a new picture of Mona Lisa, the machine would be able to say, oh, okay, this is how she looks like. I know this is Mona Lisa, and that's the kind of patterns that it's identifying and tracking and keeping in memory, like I talked about earlier, which does not involve any human intervention. This process of like presenting data to the machines so they can learn is also often termed as training the machine for intelligence. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So before I talk a little bit more about the different types of machine learning and how machines learn today, I want to mention a little bit of what a traditional programming, like for example, what we do in reactive machines, like coffee pots, for example, today, versus what machine learning is. In today's normal programmatic devices, right, like for example, the coffee machine, you provide an input and a program, right? There's a program that's the machine is programmed to. And then when there's input, like I want to make coffee and what type of coffee it is, and then it knows exactly what to do because the program is pre-programmed. The program knows exactly all the logical steps to take, and hence it provides you the output. However, in machine learning, it's a little different. We don't know how the program is going to be. We are not going to pre-program that in the machine. We want the machine to learn that by itself. Instead, what we do is that we actually present lots and lots and lots of data to the machine. And we also present what we would like it to be. Like, for example, in the example that I mentioned about pictures of Mona Lisa, we present millions of pictures of Mona Lisa. And then we say, this is what Mona Lisa looks like. And the machine automatically learns it. And the output of the machine is basically the program. So you're not actually logically programming it. Instead, you're training the machine. This whole process is called training. So the nutshell of this is, without data, machines cannot learn. And that is one of the key parts of artificial intelligence. So now, since we have learned a little bit about machine learning and what it really does to artificial intelligence, let's look at what are the different machine learning types that are out there today. The first one is called supervised learning. As the name is called, supervised, it basically means that somebody has supervised it to learn what the result is. So it's learning from labeled observations. like the previous example that I mentioned, pictures of Mona Lisa. In this example that I show, which is basically the training phase where you present lots and lots of pictures, or any data for that matter. We are using pictures here because it's easier to understand. I'm showing the machine lots and lots of pictures here of a fish, different kinds of fishes, right? It could be a million samples of fishes. And the machine basically is able to look at each and every one of those fishes and understand or look at the patterns, the similarity, and grasp and learn, okay, this is how a fish looks like. And the human is also saying, by presenting all these pictures, that this is a fish. And that's how the machine learns that all the characteristics that it has understood or pulled and recorded in memory is essentially a fish. So the next time you present a new fish, like in the bottom, so the machine automatically knows, this is a fish. And that's exactly what supervised learning means. So it basically means that presenting data with labeled observations and telling the machine based on that to learn. So the next one is called unsupervised learning. So in this particular type of learning, there is not, you don't really say exactly what the output that this is a fish. You instead want the machine to learn on its own. So unsupervised learning basically uses similarities in the data that you present. Like you see here, it's a fish, a cat, a dog, a fish, several fishes, and a couple of cats, or dog. It tries to find anomalies and similarities. It doesn't know that it's a fish or a cat, but it's capable of actually grouping things that are similar. And for example, it's looking at all these fishes and saying, okay, these have common features, so maybe we should group all of these together. So that's essentially what unsupervised learning is. So it's about looking for common traits and grouping things together. And that's essentially what the machine is doing here. And it's reducing the complexity of high dimensional features that you see on the left-hand side and trying to make it smaller in terms of grouping them together. So now I can take a subset of these and look at what it really means. Now there's yet another kind of learning, which is called reinforcement learning, which is actually learning from experience, which is the most advanced kind of machine learning. In this, it's almost, think of it like a human, like a baby learning to walk, right? Or humans learning to read, and humans learning to perceive things by just looking at stuff. It's very similar to that. It's like almost making sure that there is a reward for something that you do good and a punishment for something that if you don't finish. So that's exactly how the machine is working as well. I have given an example here that you see there's a dog that is sitting. Like if I show it a treat, then I could actually encourage it to walk. If I take the treat a little bit longer, I could actually encourage it to walk longer, or I could make it go fetch a ball or something like that. So it's very similar. In fact, our humans work exactly the same way. If there are rewards, we work a lot better towards their end goal. In reinforcement learning, these rewards are usually long-term rewards. So basically, it could be a reward like, what do you have to do to finish a computer game, for example? What are the different steps that you have to take to finish it? But in order to put it in very simple terms, this is exactly how reinforcement learning works. This is a very fascinating area of machine learning where the machines are able to learn from their previous experience and get the expected result. So there's also often a term that you would hear in the industry called deep learning. Deep learning is essentially nothing but machine learning, but it's machine learning inspired by humans' brain and how humans' brains network of neurons work. There's like different layers of learning process that happens. So the more the number of layers, the better the learning process is and the better the accuracy is. And that's essentially what deep learning is. But underlying, it uses the exact same techniques that I mentioned above. So now, since we have looked at some of the basics of artificial intelligence and most importantly, machine learning that's actually helping artificial intelligence, let's look at some of the popular applications, right? You can already see how many different ways artificial intelligence is helping in the industry. there is not a single industry that it has not helped with or touched upon, right? You can see its uses in healthcare, like, for example, robotic surgery. You can see its use in travel and transport. I mentioned about Google apps, Google Maps apps, self-driving cars, and a lot of things similar to that, and all other industries as well. Even as simple as agriculture, like making the life of farmers so much more easier, like with monitoring, automated harvest, predictive analysis, and stuff like that. And education, right? Especially with the current crisis that's going on in the world with the pandemic, remote education has become more and more important. And having teaching assistants, virtual tutoring that's actually being followed in some of the countries, is amazing how technology has brought us some of these advancements. And these are just a few industries that AI is being used on. There are a lot more, obviously, that I cannot fit in the slide. Now, let's look at how Nokia is embracing this area of artificial intelligence, right? Nokia, as you know, is working in making the lives of millions and millions of users better by connecting all the people and making them technology aware and be accessible to everything in the world, right? And make it efficient and faster. For that, you need to build better networks and precision networks. And this means that you need to have really good self-organizing networks, similar to self-driving cars, where the cars are able to drive on their own. So that's essentially where Nokia is trying to take networking world. It's trying to take the networks to self-organize themselves, just like how cars are able to drive on their own. If the networks are able to see the needs, the capacity needs, the bandwidth needs of the end users and organize themselves, that's essentially where we are trying to take it. And there are several other applications that actually make the life of our customers and the life of everyday users easier, like data-driven business decisions, predictive analysis, network insights, edge computing, self-healing networks, where the networks know what's going on, and even before they find what the fault is, they try to heal themselves. And also, like I mentioned, intelligent traffic steering and optimization to better utilize the network bandwidth and provide best-in-class experience to every user out there. So now I thought that it would be good to actually also show another good application where artificial intelligence is playing a key role. We all know how COVID has impacted every part of the world and the way of working in every part of the world. So here are just a few areas or ways that AI is helping to combat coronavirus. We together want to defeat this virus. We want to protect our people in the world. And in order to do that, there are several ways all different countries and organizations are doing and using AI to do this. And that is, here are some of them, like predicting the spread of the virus and locating where the virus is and making sure that you can use that for contact tracing in real time is one that several countries are already using. And most of the countries are also using image scan analysis in order to reduce hospital staff workloads, and also using virtual assistants and chatbots for 24/7 help related to COVID. And also we are using it to predict a person's probability of infection. We've heard so many different predictions, like COVID has been very popular in age groups over a certain age group or with underlying conditions. So all this is based on collecting lots and lots of that data and analyzing that data, sometimes also called crunching that data, and learning from it, just like we saw earlier what machine learning is about. This is also helping a lot in speeding up the research and treatment, because it's looking at how different patients are reacting to different medicines, how much time they're taking to recover, and all these are actually feeding in to the research. And based on that, we are coming up with treatment. The organizations are coming up with treatment plans. And at the same time, it's also helping us as an end user make sure that we get the right news and not, news about misinformation. And it's trying to fight misinformation and make sure that there's content moderations as well. And another interesting thing is that countries have been using drones and robots for contactless delivery, like it could be a delivery of whatever you ordered over internet or your food delivery. And sometimes countries are also using this for spraying disinfectants where they don't want to send their people. You need to protect everyone, right? Everyone is at risk for this virus. And so they've been using artificial intelligence in several ways to make sure that we can, combat it. Even helping our healthcare workers, who are working around the clock to make sure that everybody is taken care of, everybody is safe, and protect. In order to protect them, we need to make sure that we use technology to ensure that they are safe too. And there we've also seen usage of usage of artificial intelligence to make sure that we can reduce the amount of infection that they are prone to as well. So this is a really amazing way where we are seeing that artificial intelligence is really helping with everyday problems, right? It's not just about problems that we know today. There are ways to combat it even for problems that come tomorrow. And it's not just about problems, it's about improving the quality of our life, improving how we do business, improving how our efficiency, and making sure that we ensure that everybody is able to get the kind of experience that they need to. And that's essentially what artificial intelligence is trying to deliver. I hope with this, I have given you some brief explanation of what artificial intelligence is and how it's actually helping the world with the various applications it is able to bring along as a part of its fantastic learning capabilities, and also making sure that best-in-class user experience is provided to the end users. And one of my favorite things as a part of this is, doing autonomous everything, right? And sometimes we take certain things like talking to your phone so granted, but what happens underneath is so fascinating. And this is something that I'm sure will encourage each and every one of you to look at what's going on here and be interested in it and be a part of it. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.
What an amazing presentation. Thank you, Sireesha, for showing us around the amazing world of AI. Let's move now to the next presentation.